What's up guys, it's Sergey from Freediving, and today I want to talk about hyperventilation. What is a hyperventilation and why it's really dangerous for freedivers. Before we start, if you're new to my channel, please consider the idea to subscribe to it. Here on a weekly basis I'm sharing freediving information, some training tips for freedivers. So if you're a beginner or intermediate freediver, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a lot of useful information on my channel. If you already subscribed to my channel, if you already done it, thank you very much, it means a lot for me. Okay, so what is a hyperventilation? If you watched my previous video where I was discussing the general idea about breathing for freediving, you remember that before any breath hold, before static or dynamic or when you're diving deep, you're supposed to do relaxation breathing. So for a few minutes you need to breathe in a really relaxed way and then you start your breath hold. And now this is the most common idea how to prepare yourself for your breath hold, for any breath hold. But it was not always the same. Let's say when I start my freediving, when I start spearfishing, back to these old days, I have a freediving or spearfishing manual where it was, where this manual was saying that before your breath hold, you're supposed to do hyperventilation and then you start your dive. Even if you watch the old and the most iconic movie in freediving, Big Blue, you saw that freedivers before they hold their breath, they do hyperventilation. So why they was doing hyperventilation? So first of all, how hyperventilation looks like? It looks like this. And then you hold your breath. Obviously it can be slightly different, you can extend your breath, you can extend your exhale, you can make it slower or faster, it can be some variation. Why freedivers was doing this? And usually I'm asking my students what do they think, and from time to time the answer is they trying to bring more oxygen in their body, and this is obviously not correct answer, because if you're simply changing the way how you're breathing, it's not gonna affect the level of oxygen in your body. It's not gonna bring more oxygen to your body. What you achieve when you do hyperventilation is lower level of carbon dioxide. If you exhale more longer, if you extend your exhale, or if you exhale more often, then your CO2 level gonna decrease and then it's becoming smaller. So why freedivers in the past was trying to reduce their level of the carbon dioxide? Again, if you remember my previous video, I was saying that when you're holding your breath, at some point you're gonna feel uncomfortable sensation. This is what we call urge to breathe, and it depends on the level of carbon dioxide. So let's say you hold your breath during the static apnea, and then slowly your CO2 level is going up, and then when it's reached some point, the brain gonna send the signal for your respiration muscles, and your respiration muscles gonna contract. Usually there is a contractions in the diaphragm, and this is what we call urge to breathe, and it's not really pleasure, not the big pleasure to have it. So this is why freedivers want to have it later. And again, in the past, the freedivers were thinking, okay, if you're gonna remove the carbon dioxide before we holding the breath, then this is gonna shift to a later time, and then the breath hold is gonna be longer. And there is some logic in it, because yes, it's true, if you do hyperventilation, your urge to breathe is going to be later, but it's really dangerous. So let's find out why. Okay, first of all, when you do hyperventilation, obviously you're going to increase your heart rate, because when you do hyperventilation, it is a more amount of work compared to, let's say, relaxation breathing, right? So if you do hyperventilation, then your heart rate will go higher. Okay, and your heart is a muscles, and as any other muscles is going to consume oxygen, so you don't want to have your heart rate high, you want to have it low. Okay, this is the one disadvantage. The second disadvantage, actually, the removing the CO2 itself. So why it's not a good idea to have a low level of CO2? First of all, even if you look at this picture, the CO2, the contraction, the urge to breathe is not actually your enemy, it's your friend who reminds you, maybe in a not most polite way, that you need to breathe soon. So it's kind of your alarm clock which wake you up. You obviously hate it, but without this alarm clock, you're probably going to be too late to your work or to your school. And the same is urge to breathe. So urge to breathe sending you the signal that, okay, you're coming closer and closer to your hypoxic limit, right? So because in the beginning your urge to breathe can be gentle, and then it's going to be harder and harder and harder, and then at some point you're going to give up because your urge to breathe is going to be too strong. And if you remove carbon dioxide before you even start your breath hold, then you might be not going to have this sensation, and then there is a chance that you're going to come too close to your blackout limits, too close to your hypoxia limits. So this is one of the disadvantages. Another disadvantage, when you remove carbon dioxide from your body, when your CO2 level becoming low, then this is going to increase your pH level. So pH is going to be higher than normal. So normal pH is about 7.4, and if you remove too much carbon dioxide, then pH is going to be higher, and your blood going to become more alkaline. Okay? And why this is not good? So when your blood becoming more alkaline, you have a few disadvantages for freediving. First of this is the vasoconstrictions, specifically cerebral vasoconstrictions. So the blood vessels which is delivering the oxygen to your brain, to another tissues, gonna constrict and becoming smaller. And if they becoming smaller, obviously less blood and less oxygen gonna be delivered to your tissues, include your brain. And obviously this is not good idea. Another disadvantage is that when your blood becoming more alkaline is gonna suppress the Bohr effect. So what is the Bohr effect? You probably know, or I hope that you know, that inside your blood the main mechanism how the oxygen delivered to your tissues is the hemoglobin. So the oxygen connected to the hemoglobin, and then hemoglobin going through your body, and in a place where there is a high level of carbon dioxide, in this place the release of the oxygen is much more efficient, right? So this is what we call Bohr effect. And opposite is true as well. When your carbon dioxide is going to become too low, then the release of the oxygen from the hemoglobin gonna be not that effective. The oxygen gonna be connected with the hemoglobin much stronger, so the connection gonna be much stronger. And because of these two effects, because of the Bohr effect and because of the cerebral vasoconstriction, your brain gonna receive less oxygen. And if your brain gonna receive less oxygen, then you're gonna have symptoms of hyperventilation, which is a dizziness, which is a maybe tingling effect in your fingers, maybe even like a problem with the hearing or problem with the vision. And the biggest problem is the blackout. So the simple hyperventilation can cause the blackout even before you start actually your breath hold. This is what we call hyperventilation induced blackout. So when you blackout cause not because you have a low oxygen in your body, but because this oxygen could not be delivered to your brain. Okay, so again, and this can be seen in a Big Blue movie when the Japanese freedivers was preparing for his dive, and then he was doing massive hyperventilation, and when he finally started his breath hold, then he immediately lost his consciousness. And this happened all because these two things, because of the cerebral vasoconstrictions and because of the Bohr effect. So now you know that the biggest problem with the hyperventilation is that you can have a blackout even before the breath hold, or even if you don't have it and you start your breath hold, it's much more risk to have a blackout because you don't have this protective mechanism, which is your urge to breathe. So your urge to breathe is a kind of protective mechanism which is going to stop you to reach your hypoxia limit, right? And if you remove carbon dioxide, then you don't have this protective mechanism. So again, what is the hyperventilation? The hyperventilation is when you're breathing differently from the normal breathing, and you remove CO2 below normal level, because the level of CO2 in your body can be different. It depends on the level of activity. Let's say if you're running, then you're going to have let's say high level of CO2, and then when you're breathing often, this is a simple attempt to bring it back to normal. But if, let's say, you're sitting now in front of the screen and you're not doing that much and you start doing hyperventilation, then you bring it below the normal level, and this is why you can have symptoms of hyperventilation, or if you do it too aggressively, you can have even the blackout, which is unconsciousness. Okay guys, this is it. This is what I was thinking to talk about today, about dangers of hyperventilation. So the bottom line, don't do hyperventilation. Don't do hyperventilation before your breath hold. Just simply do your relaxation breathing, not hyperventilation. Okay, thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. If you like my video, don't forget to click the like button. And if you want to make something good for me, please share my video on your socials. There is some share buttons. Do it in the Facebook or in any other. It's going to mean a lot for me. Okay, one more time, thank you for watching my video. See you next time.